How the Hollywood Stars Were Made. Hey everyone, I'm Matthew Cornwell with Get Taped here in Atlanta, Georgia, one of Atlanta's original audition taping services, which I co-own with my amazingly talented, beautiful wife and best friend, Brooke. Check her out. And now on to our topic. How the Hollywood Stars Were Made. Okay, in full disclosure, this entire video is dedicated to my late mentor, Sam Christensen, who actually has a video by this title on the Sam Christensen YouTube channel, which I will link in the show notes below, but I'll also show some clips from that video in this video. To get some quick background on Sam first, he started his casting career actually in New York, in Broadway, doing casting for Broadway shows. But then he was eventually courted to LA to do TV casting. Now, his office, when he got to MGM Studios, was on the studio lot, and he was assigned a secretary named Beverly.
And I think they thought, you know, I was a young kid and I needed somebody who knew their way around the studio, so I got Beverly. And she'd been working at MGM since her first job when she was 18 years old. She'd been working there, and she was pretty near retirement, so she'd been there many, many, many years.
Despite how lovely Sam was, Beverly actually wanted to work in fan mail because she found it fascinating, specifically handling the B fan mail.
Well, we had A fan mail and B fan mail. Now, A fan mail was when they wrote in and they just wanted an autograph or a picture, and we would send them, you know, whatever the fan wanted. But the B fan mail, that was what's important because that's what we pulled the statistics from.
And what she meant was, as the mail was sorted into A and B, the B fan mail was analyzed for descriptive words, and if they saw trends that emerged,
you know, as soon as something added up enough, there was enough commentary, well, then Mr. Thalberg would issue, instructions to all the departments. And I said, I am not following this at all. What are you talking about? She said, okay, like Garbo. You know, if people wrote in mysterious and the percentages got high enough on mysterious, well, then Mr. Thalberg would issue the directives to all the departments. Miss Garbo got mysterious hair, mysterious eyelashes, mysterious shoes. Everything was mystery. I said, you mean you were analyzing what the fans saw and then you were just dressing it up and handing them back exactly what she said, yeah, that's how the stars were created. Really?
Wow, that is fascinating. I've seen that video so many times, but every time it just strikes me as such an enlightening look into early Hollywood. So what's the point, Matt? How does this apply to actors in the 21st century? Glad you asked. While the days of studios making stars this way has largely gone the way of the dodo, the concept still remains, namely that audiences intuitively pick up on the qualities that make you unique. Side note, I'm going to define a new way of looking at audiences a little bit later. And if you are well cast in your breakout role, then audiences will glom on to those qualities about you and, for lack of a better term, fall in love with that part of humanity that you do so well. Subsequently, when your next role is announced, those newly acquired fans will come flocking back to see you. But they will be expecting to see, generally speaking, that same part of humanity again. If you're Jack Nicholson, they're coming back to see some of that volatility. If you're Christopher Walken, maybe it's that little creepy vibe that he's giving off. Some actors start to feel confined or boxed in, and they start to rebel against this image at some point in their career. Sometimes it works. Oftentimes it backfires. My hero in the 90s was Jim Carrey. In Living Color, Ace Ventura, The Mask, Dumb and Dumber, pure genius. I love that slapstick brand of comedy that he had. And then The Cable Guy came out, and I felt a little betrayed because it just wasn't the same version of Jim. Incidentally, after subsequent viewings, that actually became one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies. And then The Majestic. What? Drama? How could you, Jim? All joking aside, I'm sure all of you can relate to watching one of your favorite celebrities try to break outside the mold, and in doing so, they lost just a little bit of love from you, or maybe completely. At this point, this topic becomes way too nuanced to cover in this YouTube video, but suffice to say,
every actor needs to know what does someone else get about them.
Thanks, Sam. But the problem now is that the workaday actor like myself doesn't get enough fan mail to be able to piece together all this data. I do have fans in Brazil. Okay, I have one that I know of. So let me redefine what an audience is to an actor like myself or maybe you. Because even though you might not be playing to an audience of millions around the globe, you do have teachers, agents, managers, casting directors, producers, etc. that are watching your auditions and your craft over and over and over. So think about those eyeballs as your audience, and over time and with great work ethic, they become your fans. Okay, Matt, but this fan base still isn't robust enough to get me the fan mail that those early Hollywood stars were getting. I mean, we only get crumbs of feedback on occasion, and even if we try to aggregate that over time, it still just doesn't show the trends. It doesn't help me determine what makes me, me. And that's one of the reasons that Sam Christensen made his life's passion this very topic. He endeavored to find a way to get actors, and all humans really, that same feedback that the early Hollywood stars were getting, regardless of your fan base. And he figured it out. In fact, in 4 short days, you can find out what audiences immediately pick up about you and will come back for time and time again. But here's the kicker. When you get the data back that shows these bestsellers, let's call them, you may not be surprised. In fact, oftentimes these bestsellers make you roll your eyes. Because let's be honest, it'd be kind of weird if the results you got back were shocking. That would just imply that you've been lying to yourself your whole life. Most actors have a general sense of what their fans want to see. And remember, my definition of fans includes your casting directors, producers, agents, teachers, etc. But there's the rub. You have a sense. You see, before taking the workshop, so like right now, if you were asked to articulate it, you would hem and haw, changing your answer every few minutes or relaying your answer as the occupations that you often audition for. You may even have done an exercise in acting class to help identify the characters that you would be seen playing by your fellow classmates. If so, chances are the answer is centered around, you guessed it, occupations. Heck, even your representatives might have told you what type of headshots you should get. And oftentimes they will use the occupations, or even worse, the TV shows that you should be thinking about for those headshots. Hey, Matt, I really need you to get a good redneck Last of Us headshot. Ooh, and then also get one that's sort of like a Ghosts type headshot. And while this can be helpful information, it's not getting to the why. Why are you being seen that way? Like with uber specificity, why? See, Sam developed a systematic way to arrive at not just the what, the character types that lead to those occupations, but the why. And that is a much more important question. Why are you seen that way? And by getting so granular about your humanity, you will feel so empowered. The auditions you get will no longer be a mystery. And more so, the auditions you book won't surprise you either. And even if they do, once you get on set and talk to the director and find out why they did cast you after all, then it all makes sense. And let me tell you, having taken the workshop back in 2011, it was the single most impactful thing I did for my career. Yes, my training was essential. You must have years of training in order to have a long career in this business. But before the SAM workshop, my training was like my K through 12 education that got me into an Ivy League school. But then I found myself at college meandering around with no major declared, lost in a sea of other people looking for direction in life. But after taking the workshop, it's like having this indisputable clarity to declare a major. And not just any major, but a specific major that was tailored to me. And wow, that was such a relief. To have such clarity and direction in what is otherwise a murky industry. Trust me, it will give you so much more longevity. So why hasn't every actor taken the workshop? I mean, Sam was a well-known casting director in Hollywood. He did MASH, Clash of the Titans, The Good One. Celebrities like Drew Carey and Dan Harmon went through the workshop. In fact, I'll link an episode of the podcast Harmontown in the show notes below, where Dan Harmon and the rest of his folks on the podcast essentially eulogize Sam for over an hour. And of course, graduates like me gush about this workshop endlessly. Well, some actors hesitate because of the 4-day commitment, or the money, or various other reasons. But oftentimes the root of the hesitation is that they don't think they're going to like the results. They either think, I already know myself already, what could I possibly learn? Or they're secretly worried that they're going to get something back unflattering, that we're going to somehow insult or shame them, or label them in a way that will box them in forever. We don't do that. Now, you may be surprised at how fast your classmates are able to identify these qualities about you that maybe you didn't realize were so obvious to the rest of the world. But we're not going to saddle you with labels or words or characters or anything that will feel like a burden to you. Again, Sam's mission was to dispel fear in anyone he came into contact with. And by extension, Brooke and myself want to empower you. Because to name something that was previously unnamed gives power. It gives you the ability, in this case, to have dominion over something that maybe you didn't understand before. And so if you really sit with these concepts that I'm presenting and then ask yourself, who are you? Or that oft maligned question, tell me something about yourself. What would you say? Whether it was on the spot or you had time to think about it, what would your answer be? Oh, well, I was born in South Florida and I'm the youngest of 4 siblings and I like long walks on the beach. Boring. That doesn't represent my uniqueness, my humanity. And if that's how I start the answer, then it's going to take me way too long to stumble onto anything that might resemble an articulation of who I am as a person and how that's going to affect the performance that I'm about to give you, presuming this is before an audition. Simply put, self-awareness is sexy. Personally, it'll attract people, but I'm talking about professionally. If I'm a director and I have you at my callback session and you're able to articulate your signature performance before I see it, and then you do the scene and you prove it, wow, that puts me at ease. In other words, if we were on Zoom or in person and we're just chatting before the scene and you tell me with specificity what makes you unique as a human, and then we segue into the scene work and then you show it to me, I now get to see not just your amazing talent, but I find out that you know yourself. And while that might sound simple, it eludes so many actors. But when you know yourself, that means you're self-sufficient. And so on set, I don't have to worry about you so much. I don't have to coddle you, or worse, trick you into the performance that I'm looking for. Side note, directors will often have to use psychological tricks to get the performance they need, which is a topic for another time. So again, who are you? Tell me something about yourself. What is your signature performance, as Sam would call it? The thing that fans will immediately pick up on and come back for time and time again because you do it so well. If these questions and concepts have intrigued you, then I invite you to take that curiosity to the show notes below where I've linked our website. You can go there and discover the next free preview event that we're doing where we'll talk about Sam, his background, how he came to this process, what the process actually is, how it's broken down into the 4 days, and the benefits that you might get as an actor or as some other type of human. And we offer not just the free preview, but also the workshop itself virtually, so you can attend from any time zone. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on set.